what are the new tools, what's the world look like. So great. So I'm Jeff Ponchik. I work at FULLSCREEN. I'm part of the music talent team. If you don't know what FULLSCREEN is, it's a multi-channel YouTube network. So we provide technology tools, sales opportunities, and in some cases management for YouTubers. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, I guess.
Okay.
Does that sound good? And maybe say, I don't know, what's your favorite artist of 2014 so far?
Sagittarius. I'm Dani Markman. I'm director of A&R for the Disney Music Group, and been there for a long time, working on everything from kiddie music to soundtracks to artist development and artist albums. Oh, who's my favorite artist?
Yeah.
It's like picking your favorite child. I can't say it. I'll just say I really respect what all of this industry is doing, and it's a really exciting time to be an A&R right now.
Great.
My name's Tyler Ward. I'm an entrepreneur slash artist slash do-it-yourself guy. And I play music, I write music, and I create business through the music. And my favorite artist of 2014 is Peter Hollins, ladies and gentlemen.
My name's Adina Friedman. I work over at Atom Factory, which is a management company. I primarily work on Lindsey Stirling. We also manage John Mayer, John Legend, and I guess for 2014, I have to go with my buddies in a great big world.
Nice.
I'm Sam Tsui. I am also a do-it-yourself musician, independent artist. I've been doing this for a little while. I'm one of the primary singers on a channel called Friedman, and then I also have my own channel that I started a few years ago. And I'm with FULLSCREEN. And yeah, my favorite artists. I'm gonna take a similar cut by answer and say all of my colleagues. No. All of my colleagues who are doing the independent music online thing. I find myself listening to more of that music these days than I even do a lot of mainstream music. So that's what I'm jamming to.
Great. And yes, Sam, you released an album this year.
I did.
And you did it yourself.
Did it myself. We did a Kickstarter and it surpassed all of our wildest dreams. And yeah, I got to do a full album on my own terms, which is the sort of the coolest thing you can do.
Great. And I guess we could open this up, right? How is that experience in doing a Kickstarter and distributing it yourself and not working with a label?
Yeah.
Do you prefer? How do you sort of built this audience so it's easy enough for you to just do it direct, and you prefer to do that, or is the option possibly not there, or
yeah.
what made you decide to kind of do it in this fashion?
I mean, as with much of this stuff, it's such a new frontier for all of us that choosing to do something like a kickstarted first album, there's not a lot of data really to that. There's not a lot of precedent to say, okay, I know exactly how this is going to work out. So there's a big element of sort of figuring it out as you go. So the first album, this first original album I did, I saw in many ways sort of a culmination of what I've been working toward for the past couple of years, and sort of in some ways more for the fans who have supported me up to this point. So I wanted to make sure for that reason, at the very least, this first album felt that it was of the same model and had the same kind of heart as a lot of the stuff that we had done up to that point, which is why it was important for it to be independently done. And it was, as far as the decision to do a Kickstarter, every day the fans and the people who watch the music express a desire to contribute and to be involved. And they obviously do that by sharing a video or buying a track on iTunes, but in many ways giving them this Kickstarter, which was a very specific, tangible way for them to help a very specific goal and actually, get some kind of reward in return seemed like a no-brainer. So the decision to do it, I had no idea how successful it's going to be, whether it was going to work at all, but all the signs pointed to the fact that it was going to be a good way to, as I said, do the album on my terms. And yeah, that doesn't preclude, working with labels or doing that in the future, but for that first project, I wanted it to feel kind of like the climax of this sort of homegrown thing that I had built up to that point.
And Tyler, I know you recently started working with Sony.
Yes.
Correct. So how you want to kind of talk about sort of that experience of being homegrown, doing it yourself, and now working sort of with
the major.
Sure.
The cool situation I got myself into over the last 4 years was saying no about 5 or 6 times to different offers, And
Smart.
and then all of a sudden, one time, the deal was so good, it was like, you have to license my product, and I'll give you rights to it for a few years, but in the meantime, I can continue doing exactly what I've been doing, and you only see a piece of this project. And we'll work together really, really hard on it, and that was fun, because it felt like the Sam Tsui campaign, where it's like, you create a product that's good, and it feels like it's, because of the fans, it got to that point. But it does have the marketing power of the major, so
Right.
it's been nice.
Great. And you're
When they answer the phone, it's been
right.
nice.
When they answer the phone.
Yeah.
Well, see, because you went to Sony.
Great. And yeah, I mean, Tyler, your strategy, and correct me if I'm wrong, sort of from the beginning was coming from being a cover musician.
Yes.
Seeing it was essentially like an SEO play, right? Like before the video would hit YouTube, it would be up on iTunes or release. You would cover it and turn it around extremely quickly.
Yes.
Certainly, that's a model that works really well within YouTube, or worked really well within YouTube. Do you think that that's, given actually both of your experiences, still a viable model in sort of, now that there are sort of these bigger players in the landscape, or would you sort of recommend maybe doing something on your own? Or
I think the cover model is extremely important to get a recognition, to be like, oh, this person's a good musician. Not necessarily as big as it once was. I know back in the day when we first started, we were at the precipice. We're at the very beginning, and it was like you throw up
We're
a
the
video,
old guys in the game.
and it was like 1.5 million views in 2 days, and you're like, what up? And now it's like 1.5 million views in like a month. So it's changed, but at the same time,
why do you think that is?
there's so many people doing it, and the quality has just risen. It's like not as much sitting in front of your camera playing anymore. It's like you got to have a great music video, and you just got to be shareable. But everybody's doing it, and so I mean, we were fortunate to figure it out first, and then continue to grow with it.
Yeah, it's sort of like a building process. I wouldn't say that putting out these weekly or monthly or whatever covers is no longer viable. Yeah, it's no longer necessarily the main focus that we have as artists. We're working on original stuff and brand deals and tours and things like that. But it's still, for me, and I imagine for you too, an important part of just the heart of what we do. And the people who have been with us for so long, they expect every now and then to see one of those, and they love it, and it reminds them of this journey we've been on. So it's still viable in that way, but it's not the core of.
It is. It's exactly. Yeah.
And certainly, with Lindsey Stirling, sort of, I feel like sort of we're now sort of on this tangent, or not tangent, but we're saying there's sort of the YouTube world, right? And then there's starting to bridge into other places and using it for other opportunities. So Lindsey Stirling is now managed by the Adina Factory. How has that experience been coming from sort of like a traditional music industry background, working with someone who kind of has had a similar experience to say Sam or Tyler?
Yeah, no, I was telling them earlier, it's like everything you think you know about the music industry or how to succeed in the music industry, like Lindsay's kind of broken all the norms, and she's kind of set her own rules, and it's so refreshing, and actually I feel like us as a company have learned so much just from working with her, in things that we can apply to other artists as well. And I do think she has that potential that she's breaking into that mainstream world, and it's important to not leave behind the world that she came from. And I think she has the potential to kind of straddle both worlds in a way no one else has.
Great. What is she up to? I'm just curious.
She's working on her new record.
Cool. When is that supposed to?
In the spring.
Very cool. Very cool. You mentioned also some stuff with Cirque du Soleil, or?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So she'll be. It's a one.
Was I not supposed to say that? Or
No. We haven't announced it yet, but it's not a secret.
Well, not now.
When is that, by the way?
In March 21st.
Great.
Very cool. And I guess another very big topic of discussion too, especially in the YouTube space, is working with brands as well. I think that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, in a climate where CPMs, we're all working to make those ad dollars more valuable, it's becoming more and more important for large artists to start working with brands. And this is certainly open to anyone. What have your experiences been with, I guess essentially being a do-it-yourself musician, right, and then starting to work with brands. I mean, is it like they have no idea like about the space at all, and they just want it to be like Honda, 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 you know, or do you feel like certain brands are better to work with than others, or sort of open-ended?
My experience with brands so far has been every day brands are more aware of the YouTube space, more aware of the, you know, social media, like platforms are like, are you kidding me? I can spend this amount of money, and to me it's great money to reach this amount of people versus this amount of money to reach this amount of people on like traditional media. And so I'm literally getting hit up like once or twice a day by major brands, and then you guys bring stuff as well.
Sure.
But it's funny because right now I'm in transition with management, and so I have a pseudo manager at the moment who's dealing with all this stuff, and it's like, it's incredible, and it's like, it's fun. It's so fun because you can, I don't know, you know how it is. It's fun. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I get excited.
Yeah. No. You know, Tyler's right. Like brands are definitely becoming more and more aware. You know, even from like 6 months ago, having them understand the power, like Lindsey's power on YouTube. She literally has her own television network where she gets more ratings from putting up a video or viewers than some television shows on like mainstream television. It's taken a while for brands to really embrace that and get that. So it's been like a learning process for them.
And I do represent, obviously, a big brand at Disney. And for us, it's become a very interesting business for us. In fact, there's several people in the room that we've actually worked with. Peter Hans being one of them, Sam. Tying them into Disney Channel in one of our big films, Teen Beach. They cut a video for us and a really great a cappella medley that we've used as a vehicle to help promote the show. And even with Peter and Alex G, we came to them, we were thinking, how can we possibly move our catalog? The old Disney classics that everyone's heard for about 30 years, what can we do to freshen it up? We understand the power of that space, and they cut an incredible medley for us in video. Within a week, we had 3 million views on songs that, you know, everybody knows, but they've been out there for 30 years. So it's becoming a real place that we want to play in. We're actually working on a YouTube project with you guys, in fact. No artists, no signed artists, just all in that space because we really believe in their talent and what they're bringing to the industry.
And I mean, I think what I found as an artist working with various brands is that one of our most important assets, especially as these sort of online personalities, is the sense of genuineness, and that the people who watch our music and watch our videos, even though now they're much higher production value, they are aware that it's this sort of direct, they have a direct link to us, and that what we're putting out is not being filtered through a million different companies and people. They feel like it's us. And so I think the one most important thing for all of us when we're doing brand deals is that to make sure that whatever the content is that it still feels like it's genuinely motivated, and that they're not necessarily watching an advertisement, but they're watching a Tyler Ward video or a Sam Tsui video that happens to, you know, have this sort of affiliation with this or that, and that, you know, but that doesn't feel like it's something that's not genuine, because that, especially as YouTube artists or digital musicians, is one of our most important assets.
And that's why we do want you guys. I mean, and I know in the case with Peter and probably you as well, we didn't direct you. We didn't tell you, this is what we want you to do. We didn't put you in a cookie cutter. We hired you because we know what you represent, and we thought the best thing we could do is just sort of wash our hands of it and say, do what you do. And I'm sure which is rare. I know on the label side, but I think that was your experience. I know it was Peter's too, and that's why it was so successful, because we didn't try to make it too corporate. We allowed it to be who you are. That's when it's most successful. You're right.
And you know, what do you think kind of drove you to that conclusion? You know, to do it.
Well, I mean, we'd all be stupid to not realize when you look at the numbers that you get, and you realize the marketing that we spend as a company, praying for those numbers. You're obviously doing something right, and you're connecting to people in a way that seems disingenuous sometimes on the corporate side. You know, obviously there's regular marketing, we all have to do it, and we just thought, you know what, we need to, I was the one that said we need to just stay out of it, let them do what they do.
Yeah.
And the results have been fantastic. Oh, I see, I have a new friend.
There we go.
We'll talk after this, I have a project for you.
Nice, nice. Great. So it sounds like, you know, in your guys' opinion, working with brands has always been a very positive experience, and that you've been able to maintain creative control over. I would imagine now.
I'd say
Two
70,
very
70,
different-
Yeah, I would imagine
Yeah,
it's not
there's
always the
definitely
case.
outliers in there.
Yeah.
There's like, it's like 70%.
Yeah.
Is there any branded content right now that you feel is, you know, it could just be in the video space at all that is amazingly executed or done, or anything you've been a part of that you want to highlight or talk about?
I have to say, I love the first time I became aware of you was.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, right.
You and Lindsey, your thrift shop
Oh, yeah.
video. I loved it. I thought it was so well done.
Thank you.
I really did. That was when I first became a fan. Yeah, I loved it.
There you go.
And that's the thing. I mean, what you guys accomplish on the budgets that you accomplish it on is really miraculous coming from, you know, the corporate side.
Yes.
I think it's amazing how incredible the work is coming from that space.
Mm-hmm.
It's shockingly great.
Right. And from sort of like Disney's side of things, and this is just sort of my outsider perspective, is that the artists that you invest in you kind of do sort of 360 deals, right? They work within television,
Right.
music.
I mean, look, that's one of the things the label offers.
Right.
You know, there are times that, you know, I'm the first to say to a lot of artists that come in, I don't think a label is going to help you, but there are things, and certainly from a Disney perspective, we're in a little different position because synergistically, we have the studio, we have the parks, we have the cruise lines, we have consumer products, we have Marvel, we have Muppets, I mean, ABC, we have a lot. You know, it's the synergy that you buy into and the distribution globally. But yeah, I mean, we do that, but it's interesting because we have certainly that side where we have the artists that are developed by Disney Channel or the studio, but then we do have those artists that, you know, this space has helped us find. Artists like Cece Ward and Stella Day and some of our new artists that we've recently signed that we're truly developing. But I think artists have a bigger say than it was 10 years ago where we owned everything. You know, you were saying that you got into a great situation with Sony.
Yes.
10 years ago that may not have happened, but now I think everyone's realizing if you want to get in this space, you can't own everything. You have to give up a little bit of something. So I hope, I know certainly with my label, we're willing to work with artists more in a way that we probably wouldn't have a decade ago.
That's great. That's fantastic. Okay, not to sort of like shift it to a completely different direction, but you know, emerging technologies. It almost feels like there's a new music platform coming up every day now. Tyler, I know you've done some stuff with Pledge Music and a few other, you know, music platforms. Is there anything you guys would like to highlight or particular, at least for a do-it-yourself musician, you think might be a good service to check out?
I'm beginning to learn that the collective social media outlets or like platforms as a whole is going to become the future for me. It's like I'm focused on YouTube and that's my main thing, but there's also Vine, there's also Instagram, there's also Facebook, there's also all these other Whisper, like all these things coming up all the time where I feel like I need a presence in because it'll combine into be I'm selling me as a social media artist, not just on a YouTube platform. So it's super important to stay updated with all the trends, to be honest with you. And when you think, for example, I thought Vine was dead, man. I thought it was dead.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at myself because I looked at my followers. I had like 9,000 followers yesterday that had no Vines. So I just like, I'm gonna start this again and just see what happens, just because I feel like it's weird. That's an important piece of the whole picture. So it's important for me to be a social media artist.
Yeah, it was funny for me because, you know, when I started YouTube, the idea of launching an entire brand and career through this digital means on your own was not even on my radar. I knew I wanted to be an entertainer. I knew that was my goal, but I didn't realize that initially that was going to be the way it was going to happen. And so it was, realizing that, oh my gosh, you know, I have this big YouTube following. This is years ago. Maybe I should start a Twitter. I don't know. It's not really about music. I'm a musician. Why do I need to do this? But I sort of hesitantly started, and with each new thing, you start to realize that they're assets, you know. And at times when they're new and you don't really understand them, you view them as, oh my gosh, there's another thing I have to do every day. Now I have to take a picture and add a filter every day, and this is another thing I have to do. But you do come to value them as ways that people become just more and more invested in your brand and you as a person, and then by proxy are more invested in your music and just more attentive to what you're doing across the board, which is so valuable as a brand.
Yeah, it certainly puts more onus on the artists to kind of be in all those places. It used to be you could just, put your music on MySpace and that's where everybody was listening to music, and then, all these other platforms started popping up, and, your audience isn't just on MySpace now, they're on, well, no one's on MySpace, but, but they're on Twitter,
I am.
they're on Instagram, and you're going to find different people on each of those platforms, so to really get the most out of your value is to kind of spread yourself out among those different platforms.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel this is sort of higher level business strategy question for the Adam Factory that I'm just sort of interested. YouTube is such a good place as well. Not only to potentially sell your music, but also sell your vision and your branding, and to experiment and see if people will buy into that. Do you expect the Adam Factory to start taking on more clients from within the YouTube space?
Yeah,
or,
do you?
I'm just curious. Has Lindsey Stirling been like a positive experience?
I don't think we approach it from, what space artists come out of. I think it's more of a holistic thing where if it's the right fit, the right artist, and, we feel that we can bring the right value to the table, then it makes sense. I don't think we go out and look for, YouTube specific or, mainstream specific type things.
But don't you feel like it's changed the way you find artists now? I mean,
Oh,
it certainly
certainly.
makes it
Yeah.
a lot easier. I mean, I know for us, it's a really great tool where you don't have to, you still want to have that live experience of seeing them perform in an audience, but it really does help if you have already, basically a reel to look at, and you can see your followers and how many views you have. Certainly I would imagine helps
Yeah,
you, because it does for us
yeah.
as well.
No, it definitely helps, the ones that are doing it well rise to the top and get on our radar, and, for sure.
Great. And Tyler,
Yeah.
since you're so excited, how about what
We're signing him tomorrow.
Yeah.
There we go.
You heard it.
I heard she committed.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it.
We all heard it. Yeah. When was the moment for you? Because I know we've met in the past and talked, but I think it might be interesting for everyone else to hear. You started out in Denver.
Yes.
Playing shows. You took on YouTube. You saw enormous success. Can you tell us sort of the moment for you when you kind of realized that your subscriber base sort of was able to materialize into an actual live audience?
Yeah, it was like between late February 2010 and early March, when my dad was like, "Okay, son, you've been here for 2 years. You have to go get a real job, back to school, become a teacher." I was like, "This is great. Like, okay, I'll do it." But then, that moment, I discovered YouTube, and I put out a video. I was like, "I'm gonna try something real quick." I did a video with the people I was recording at the time. A cover of "We Are the World." Like, come on.
Yeah.
Right? But the thought process was, at the Winter Olympics of 2010, "We Are the World" was being remade by all the biggest celebrities. At the time, that was the most searched for video in YouTube history. I was like, I'm gonna strategically put this out the day before. See what happens. Put it out, it was searched for, mine was right at the next search, and I was like, what is happening? And I'm like this kid with this dirty hair, and all my friends, it's like me, I'm growing, and all my friends are growing. First day, 10,000 subscribers, and the next day, my friend had 5. And we were all growing, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then by the end of that month, there was 1 million views on that video, and I was like, this is insane. So I started taking that model, really applying it very specifically, and was like, this is gonna work. And then I started seeing it, and it wasn't ad revenue at the time. It was an AdSense. It was, I could sell these songs on iTunes legally, completely legally, licensing and everything. And 2 months, I saw the paycheck, and I was like, Dad, look. And he goes, I don't get it. But I mean, as long as you can start paying your phone bill and your car bill. So I started doing that, and then he was like, and then it was incredible, because then by the end of that, I ended up buying his house from him, and I was living in his basement. So it was one of those things where I was like, wow. And he was like, all right, son, do whatever you want. Okay. So it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, whenever I try and explain to my parents what full screen is, like what a multi-channel YouTube network is, they still don't get it.
No, there's
No help whatsoever. But it works. I guess a question for you would be, how would you say, from sort of a label perspective, how are you guys incorporating social media into activating the growth of your artists?
We have a designated digital marketing team that
How many employees? Curious.
5 or 6.
And what do they do?
Hey!
I'm serious. I'm serious.
They're doing everything.
Well, no, they are now. I mean, we didn't have a presence until a few years ago. We really didn't. And now we have, we're constantly putting up videos as well,
Yeah.
through Vivo, through obviously Disney.com, through all of our, through our own channels, through Disney.
Just a quick question. Do you help the actual artists? Like,
Yes.
Give me an example of one of your artists.
Demi Lovato.
Demi, okay, for example, do you run her Twitter, Facebook,
Yes.
all that stuff?
Yes.
And she can access it as well if she
Yes.
wants to? Okay.
Yes. So, basically what you're buying is a team that
A team.
does your work for you. I mean, you're
No,
a
no,
part
no,
of it
I totally-
too,
yeah,
but,
absolutely.
when you
They
get
know
to
your
a
brand, they
certain-
help
Well,
you.
right, I mean, you
Smart
get
enough.
to a certain point, she now, has a best-selling book, she's on, X Factor, she's got a huge record, she's on tour, that's when you really do need that team behind you.
Of course.
That, can help you navigate those waters. And it's, obviously Demi's online profile is huge. And that is something that we have 100% done on the label. We're on top of all of her channels and all of her social outlets. And it's changed. I mean, 10 years ago that would not have been the case, but.
But have you done anything sort of experimental to kind of like,
For us,
to try and like,
I will tell you, for us, experimental has been getting into this space.
This
where we-
guy.
Yeah, it's been, with Peter, with Sam, now that we're working with you guys on developing YouTube artists and collaborations and seeing, is that something that the market will bear? I mean, we all know how popular you guys are, but would someone be interested in an album of all of you guys? We believe the answer is yes. That's really, but none of you are signed to us, so it's a very different world for us. So for us, that's pretty experimental
yeah,
to invest
it's
in
investing in artists. you
investing
don't-
in an artist that we have no ownership of, that we just believe in artistically. And
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love
so-
that.
Really?
That's crazy.
For us, we really are trying to, and I can't speak for every label, obviously, I can only speak for mine, but we are trying to get into that world and trying to get out of that typical, you go to a club, you see an artist that you like, you woo them, you hope to sign them, you own their publishing, you own their merch, you own their touring. We're trying to look at different ways to work with artists so that we can create something really special and something really unique, and that's what we're hoping this project will be. And it's been, for us, really so great. We were just having this conversation, Adina and I, beforehand, that, and it's a generalization, but almost every person from your space that I've worked with has the most incredible work ethic. They really do, and they're so wonderful to work with, and there isn't ego, and there isn't an expectation, and maybe it's because you guys have had to work so hard to get as far as you have, that for us, it's like, so incredible. It's like, really? You want to get this done tomorrow?
Yeah.
Really?
Quick results.
Yeah, so for us, it's been really exciting too.
Babies.
That's great. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, when I think of a record label's offer to an artist, it's sort of like, it seemed like it was sort of based around 4 different pillars. It's like you have, distribution, PR, production, and then I guess legal, right?
Right.
Would kind of be like the 4 things. And
But the radio is huge.
right.
And you have radio
Right,
promotions.
which is sort of
Promo,
part of
promo.
promo.
Sorry.
Yeah, and it seems like, with kind of the advent of technology and things changing in the past 10 years, sort of production, anyone can kind of like fill that gap a little bit easier, and anyone can kind of distribute
Yeah.
now. Sam has just recently done. And so, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're sort of saying that, doing initiatives like this are kind of like new steps into kind of building
Right.
new pillars and
Right.
create new offerings for essentially, yeah, music outside of your label
Right.
and just music as a whole, which is
And also the
fantastic.
industry has changed, you know, it isn't just about record sales anymore. Unfortunately, you know, we're not just selling shiny discs anymore.
Right.
First of all, there's almost no retail.
Yeah, I
But-
heard those times were good though. Yeah.
Well, for some people,
Yeah.
yeah, and they are.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's why, you know, another reason is you get the licensing people. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of money in licensing, you know, you get that synergy where, you know, we may find an artist and, you know, in working with Sam, for instance, you know, tying that into the Disney Channel. It isn't just about selling the song or the video, which is great, but there's other practical uses that you're getting from labels now that it isn't just about making that record.
Right.
It can't really be. Because you're right, at that point, there isn't really much more a label can do than you guys are doing for yourself. But what we do offer is getting to that next level.
Sure.
And the global distribution too. It's, you can distribute yourself, but can you get into, you know, 90 territories? So.
Yeah. Right. And just it might be interesting for the audience to know how exactly are you guys working together? How have you worked?
Well, the last project we did was, you know, there's a very popular movie on the Disney Channel called Teen Beach. It was pretty much a phenomenon, and we thought, you know, we could go to our artists and have them do something interesting, but why? And then, you know,
Sure.
I mean, they just made a movie.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we were aware of Sam. Obviously, we worked with Peter on our Disney medley project, and then the Pentatonix came on board as well.
Right.
And we just said, you know what? Here are the songs. What can you come up with? And they all three independently delivered something very different, but yet something really cool. And it became a vehicle for us to help for the channel, because when they had future airings, it just was more content for us to get it out there in that social world. And what it does for these artists too is Disney fans may or may not be, you know, your subscribers, but now they are, because now they know who you are. So it also brings to the artist, you know, synergistically another layer of a fan base that may not have been aware of you before.
And you saw like good growth from.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Totally
just
worth
it's
it.
more visibility, and you know, even the existing fan base that you have is it's reinforced, and because they're so invested in us as artists and as sort of virtual friends in a weird way, they're excited and pumped up when they see that we have a spot on the Disney Channel or
Yeah.
this or that. So it even for the existing fans, whether or not they are Disney fans, that excites them because they have an investment in us. They're like, you know, we're like a local band to them.
Right.
You know, that they track our progress and are excited by the new things we do.
Yeah. Great. Cool. And question for Lindsey Stirling. I mean, you know, for Tyler and Sam, you know, you are sort of traditional artists. To be doing, you know, violin to dubstep, right? It's amazing, you know, that you know that's gone where it's gone and how impactful and how helpful she's been within the YouTube community. Do you think, I mean, just throwing it out there, do you think she could have gotten where she is today without YouTube? Do you think that?
No, I don't actually. You know, I mean, she was on America's Got Talent early on, made it to the quarterfinals. Nothing happened a year and a half, and you know, if anything, that time allowed her to perfect her craft and get better, and want to prove them wrong. And then, you know, putting up a video on YouTube when you know the door was shut everywhere else from, you know, other managers. I never got that call. To labels, to, you know, whoever, you know, at the time.
I'll tell you a funny story. So Lindsey, when she was first starting out, Lindsey's like one of the biggest YouTuber musicians on the planet. You guys may or might not know. She called me when she had 2,000 subscribers. She goes, "Hey, you want to do a collab?" And I looked, I was like, "Nah, it's cool."
Now you call her and just
No, like, no, literally. Me and Peter are like, "Hey, Lindsey, you want to say yes to this?"
Please say yes. Peter, I feel like we should get you a stool and
Yeah.
here, you know. Feel free.
But yeah, I mean, she was looking for an outlet, and at the time, YouTube offered her one that she couldn't get anywhere else, and an audience that just embraced it and didn't judge her the way she was judged on other rats. So I don't think that, you know, that she could have gotten to where she is at the time without YouTube.
Right. it's also kind of interesting, like her location as well. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there's like we've seen, just because where I work, it's like a very YouTube. It's 100% YouTube all day. And we've seen this like crazy emergence of creators coming out of Utah, actually. You know, and so you see like she's Devin Supertramp, who has now his own huge following. Who used to work with Lindsey Stirling, who works with Scotty DW. Is that still like for people like Lindsey? Are they, is that still I guess what I'm trying to ask is that still, in your opinion, a hotspot for like emerging YouTube talent?
Yeah, totally. We just shot a video a few weeks ago, and the crew that we used was like the directors were from Utah, and it amazed me. We shot it in Connecticut, and all the Utah people, from dancers to choreographers, that came out, and they're not like amateurs in any mean. Like Bonnie Story choreographed it, who been on So You Think You Can Dance and does choreography, works with Michael Jackson, and like to hear all these people coming out of Utah was just, I'm like, what?
yeah. So it's kind of odd, at first when you hear that.
It's a real creative hotspot, and I don't know what they put in the water, but
That's cool. All right. Well, I think we've been talking up here for a while. Does anyone from the audience have any questions? Yep.
So I'm running a label for a brand, and I'm intrigued by what you said earlier on about the fact that nowadays it's a lot more competition. It's harder to get noticed. So, any suggestions or advice or examples of people who successfully have in this current noisy market managed to break through and get attention and build up to that, whatever X number of subscribers? And second question, real quick, is when you guys transitioned over from cover sort of artists to original artists, what did you see in that transition period, and how did you help bridge it?
First of all, collaboration is huge, and if you're going to reach out to like a brand, me doing a collaboration with him is very important to build both of our brands.
Yeah, and especially as someone emerging in this market, because there are now people like us who have been doing this for a long time and have this established inbuilt audience. One of the best ways for a new person to get discovered is to, because the way people consume YouTube is watch a video, click on the next video that you see, and there's a recommended video. Who's that person in that video and watch? It's the way you consume anything on the internet is like that. And so attaching yourself to existing talent, and then similarly for, it's still covering popular songs or doing things that are relevant or shareable. They're all important things, and then following that up with consistency after you get the initial, viral thing or whatever. It's following that up with consistency to actually build recurring.
Very true.
Funds.
I've seen many videos go whoo and get all this traffic to a channel, and they have like 3 or 4 dull videos, and no one cares.
Yeah.
Like if they had something, if they were working, and all of a sudden it's like they weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
But if you're ready for it, then it's magic.
Yeah.
But to your second question, it was huge for me when I put out original music. I was able to tour. When I was doing covers, people were like, cool, but then all of a sudden they started. My loudest songs at the shows were some of my original music. It's like that was important. So.
yeah. And to that point too, I don't know if you guys have felt this, but at least with Lindsey, because she has done a lot of covers, but she also does a lot of original music. For certain people, it's hard to get past that stigma of being a cover artist, even when your original music crushes any cover you've ever done.
She's a cover artist. Is she though? No.
Yeah.
And I would say now, now that we all have original music out, that in general, I see covers as maybe a means to gain some new audience here and there. Someone who was searching for this song and maybe stumbles across my version, like that's awesome, then they find my original stuff. And then the original stuff is for building the brand and the image that I want. So I see covers as gaining new fans, and the originals as identifying who I am as an artist and keeping people on board for that. So,
Yeah. I embrace the covers, man.
yeah, exactly.
I don't care.
It's a negative stigmata, but it's the future. And if people embrace it, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, call me a cover artist. I don't care.
My name is Zia. I actually started on YouTube as well, but just back in 2006.
Yeah.
It was the same wave as the Esme Denters and Larry Digby.
These two over here, the originals.
Well.
He was a top YouTuber at one point. It's crazy. Sorry.
I saw your show at Maxwell.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, in Hoboken.
In Hoboken?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so, which, YouTube back then wasn't a household name yet. It was before sneezing pandas and babies biting fingers. Definitely before it was a complete outlet for musicians to display their talents and showcase, I started with, just half of my face. Because the rebel in me was like, you know what, it's a visual outlet, but I'm going to put some audio content. But, back then the layout was different. The featured videos would stay on the front page for 3-4 days and people got comfortable with it. And that led me to, blessed enough to get signed under the record label, which is Brushfire Records, and that's how I'm here today. But my question is, because, life has taken such a busy toll and I haven't given YouTube much love, and every time I go back there, something changes, and so there's emerging artists, and there's like an ocean of great talent, and you guys so hearing all this is like hearing about the newer kind of wave coming in and how it's become such a commodity and necessity for a lot of artists to display. So contrary to how I was discovered, I'm quite tech illiterate. I started with like a $20 webcam and those call center headsets.
Yeah, sure.
But it had that grainy gramophone,
Sure.
which is so nice. So my question is, Jack Conte.
Hey!
So my question is, so I'd like to get back and give my YouTube subscribers some love. So how important is the production that comes into audio and visual right now for someone who doesn't really have tech skills but works out of an iPad?
Well, I mean, one of the great things about the last 10 years is that the sort of prohibitively expensive cost of making good-looking stuff has gone down. I mean, even 3 years ago, we were shooting stuff that looked pretty good. And, obviously it wasn't looking like a studio production, but, when my production friend Kurt and I were just doing these videos, we were just two college kids with pretty limited resources, and we were able to make good-looking stuff. So, I mean, I think it is important that what you put on, especially if you already have established something. I mean, there's a lot of people who put up just webcam of them singing, and if they're great singers, that will get some traffic. But I think people expect to find growth. They want to see you, especially if you want them to be coming back, they want to see growth, and production is a way that you can show that you're taking the craft more and more seriously. So I don't think it's necessarily, in order to have a successful YouTube video, you have to put tons of money into it and make it look perfect and amazing.
Yeah.
No, but it still has to look good.
It has to
because
look
there's
good.
an expectation now, because everything up there
Exactly.
looks good.
Exactly.
But you're right, you don't have to go into a recording studio, but there's an expectation that what they're going to hear.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speed and quality
Yeah.
really helps us. It's such a visual generation now.
Oh,
Right.
right. And sometimes it's if you have that polishness, sometimes it's good to kind of throw something a little bit more pretty and give your fans like a different
Cool. I think we have time for maybe just one more. Anybody else? All right. Cool. Well, maybe I don't know if you guys have any closing remarks or anything. Any big thesis statement for what was said, or any advice you could give.
It's an exciting time to be in this space. There's a lot going on. I think for anyone in the space, the most important thing is to just stay abreast of it and remember that at the heart of it, it's getting talent and art out to people, and this is just new ways of doing it, and it's actually a great democratized way of doing it. And I think the result is better content.
And I think it's not too late. It's only the beginning, and content is king.
Yep.
So if you're good, you'll be good. You'll be fine. I think that's what it is.
I have one more question actually for you.
Yeah.
So you actually got signed to a record label?
I did a licensing deal.
Or license?
So they have one piece of me out of 100 things.
So are you then allowed to put
Yes.
original content out?
I'm allowed to do whatever I want, actually,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
crazy. Yeah. Except in a certain territory.
You say, really?
Yeah.
They're not generous.